Habari Ghani, my brothers and my sisters. My brothers and sisters, have you ever stopped to think and wonder why the other peoples of the world loathe and despise us? Don't you think about this sometime? What is their problem with us? Let me give you one answer to that. One answer is they despise and loathe us because they despise, loathe, and have no respect for our ancestors or the people in our homeland at this particular time. When you think about it, we ourselves loathe and despise ourselves because of our ancestors and because of the condition of our brothers and our sisters in our motherland today. We have been taught by our enemies to loathe and hate ourselves. Our enemies very carefully isolated us one from the other, rewrote our history, created divisions amongst us that seems to be insurmountable. You see, my brothers and sisters, Africa, if that's the name we want to call it, Africa, our motherland, has all the resources the rest of the world needs. Her people, when you count those who are scattered throughout the diaspora, are a majority of the people in the world. Yet, economically and politically and socially, we occupy the bottom rung of the ladder throughout the world. What's going on here? I'll tell you what's going on here. You see, my brothers and sisters, we worship a God who is white. Our oppressor or colonizer is white. So we equate God with whiteness. We equate our oppressors, the colonizers and our slave masters, with God. So we believe that the only way we can recognize and experience our true humanity is to get as close to being white as we possibly can. So we bleach our skins, we straighten our hair, we wear white wardrobes, we try to talk white, we try to act white, and we want to be white. There's a belief throughout the diaspora, more so in certain places than in others, that you have to marry up. Marry someone lighter than yourself so you can make the race lighter and more close to whiteness. This is mostly evidenced in Brazil than any place else. But believe you me, this is a phenomenon that most blacks in Africa and throughout the diaspora experience, and that has become a part of their personality. They want to become white. Because once you become white, you become more acceptable to white people, and they'll give you more rights. They will recognize you, and they will love you. Yes, my brothers and sisters, the rest of the world despise us and loathe us because we have most of the resources that the rest of the world needs, yet we have to go begging to others to supply our very needs. We have nothing of substance, yet we really own everything, yet we are the poorest people in the world. Africa has it all, but Africa is nothing, so other people despise us. So we must find a way to uplift Mother Africa, to unite all Africans, to have them work for a common cause, to get the right kind of technical education, the right kind of ideology, to drive them the same way, to help them want to develop Africa for Africans in Africa and throughout the world, that we must be Africans And Africa must be for us. We must become black nationalists. We must look out for our own before we look out for anyone else. My brothers and sisters, we can do this. The Honorable Marcus Garvey recognized this almost a century ago. And he said, up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. He said, Africa, for Africans at home and abroad. He understood succinctly that we had to unite and develop Africa, because Africa had the potential to be the leader of the world, and it was at the bottom of the hierarchy of all the people in the world. And then people would look up to us, admire us, respect us, because we would have demonstrated we are self-sufficient. We are the best in the world. We can do anything. We control, own, and distribute all the resources the rest of the world needs and the rest of the world wants. Then, my people, the rest of the world will view Africa in a different vein. They will have respect for us. And that respect will be reflected through their respect for every African scattered throughout the diaspora in Asia, Southeast Asia, throughout what they call the Middle East, throughout Europe, throughout Africa, throughout Australia, throughout the entire South Africa, throughout the Caribbean, Haiti, and the United States would be looked upon differently, looked upon through a respectful eye, looked upon as someone to emulate, as opposed to someone to desigrate. Look, my brothers and sisters, we are the greatest. If only we realize this and begin to act on this and begin to love one another and stop being so divided. Stop believing we're different. We're not Nigerians. We're not Senegalese. We're not Cameroonians. We're not Ethiopians. We're not Egyptians. We're not South Africans. We're not Ugandans. We're not Zimbabweans. We're not Guineans. We are one people. Whether you call us African people, it doesn't matter what we call. We are gods. We define who we are, and no one else can define us. But we must all recognize the one designation we claim for our motherland. Al-Kubu land, Ethiopia, Africa, are the land of those who are saturated in blackness. We can even call it the black land. Whatever we call it, we must all subject ourselves under that term and act as brothers and sisters, as one united people, from one united ancestry, from one united continent. The rest of the world's people loathe and despise us because they loathe and despise our ancestors and our mother continent, Africa. They despise all Africans. Doesn't matter whether you have light skin, doesn't matter whether you're heavy, melanated, doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter how much intelligence you have, doesn't matter who you think you are. Bottom line, they despise you. Bottom line, you're just a nigger. That is one reason they have in their philosophy, one drop of blood makes you a nigger. Because they want to let you know you have to be pure white to be a part of them. So my brothers and sisters, what we must do is we must develop a strong black nation in Africa. Maybe Zimbabwe is the land we must develop all together. And then we must move to incorporate Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Sudan, and all the rest of Africa piecemeal, one by one, until we are all under one nation. My brothers and sisters, too many of our African leaders today keep this shit going alive about tribes. Nigeria alone has hundreds of tribes. That's what's wrong with it. Each of these countries have tribes within them, and all of these tribes are divided from one another. We must eliminate tribalism and become one people. We must develop an army underground throughout the world that's able to point African leaders in the right direction, try to lead them in the right direction, or take them down and put the right leaders in that position who pushes the ideology of African for Africans, African resources under African control, African people for African people, the world over, that we are for each other first and foremost, and then we look out for the rest of the world secondary. Africans first, others next. But first, we must unite the vast continent we call Africa. Unite it, what is called Africa or Al Kibu land or whatever it's called, and become one people. That's the primary goal of all of us. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you talk like. It doesn't matter who you think you are. As long as you begin to believe we are one melanated, united people, and we act in consort with one another for all African interests and everybody else's interests secondarily. Africa first, the rest of the world secondary. We have to develop our motherland, to develop ourselves, and to develop respect from other people throughout the world for us, because we are the natural rulers of the world. We are the original, aboriginal people on the planet. So we must ask ourselves, why do those Johnny-come-latelys place us and treat us like we are nothing on the bottom of the hierarchy and look down their noses at us and treat us horrifically?